think this goes to a fundamental misunderstanding of gun issues. I think back to the stupid, absolutely inane micro-stamping legislation that came up a few months ago, maybe half a year ago, that really seemed to imply that criminals, the people you are trying to catch by micro-stamping the shell casings, are going to be so thoughtful and law-abiding that they're going to register their guns with their proper name and address so that you can then match the shell casings to the weapon that has been registered by the criminal. I mean, the inanity knows no bounds. What did you make of the non sequitur in comments that Obama made that would lead you to believe he has any better understanding of these issues?
Look, I think they come at this from a fundamental misunderstanding of the issue. As you say, look, if gun control worked, Chicago would be safe. If gun control worked, then Washington, D.C. would be safe. It's not that conservatives or people who are pro-gun don't care about violent crime. Of course we do. But you're barking up the wrong tree when you try to fix it by going after law-abiding gun owners. That just, it doesn't do anything. It's not helpful. It only continues the violence in these communities. And so, I thought it was interesting. Both Barack Obama and Mitt Romney did acknowledge the role of parents. They both talked about the role of communities in actually, policing themselves. I'd like to hear more about that. Obviously, Barack Obama couldn't talk about the great work that his friend Rahm Emanuel was doing as the mayor of Chicago because Rahm Emanuel's policies aren't any better than the president's on this issue.
So Cam, let me ask you this. Bob Shrum, writing in the Daily Beast after the terrible tragedy at the Dark Knight premiere in Colorado, he wrote basically to warn his fellow Democrats not to go down the gun control path. He said the stark reality is that the half-century battle for gun control has been lost politically. He wrote that just this last summer. And if you look at President Obama's own record, apparently he signed into law allowing guns to be taken into national parks. He signed into law guns being able to be checked as baggage on Amtrak. So in a certain sense, President Obama has set himself up as the anti-gun control president. My question to you is, do you think that a second Obama term, we may see him flip-flop, that, as he said to the Russian leader, that he might have a bit more flexibility on the issue?
Well, I don't think it would be a flip-flop. The bills that you mentioned that he signed, these were amendments to underlying bills that the president really wanted. So he had no, this wasn't a standalone piece of legislation allowing right to carry in national parks. This was attached, I believe, to a credit card legislation.
Right, but he didn't pursue gun control legislation after the shooting at the Dark Knight Rising movie premiere either.
Or Gabby Giffords.
No.
Or Gabby Giffords.
No, he didn't. But he has done things like, for instance, to me, he's demonstrated his hostile intent to gun owners by things like banning the re-importation of some 89,000 U.S. made and manufactured M1 Garand rifles from South Korea.
Right.
South Korea would like to get rid of them. Collectors here would like to buy them. Even though this would go through federally licensed firearms retailers, the background check would be performed. The Obama administration said no because they were concerned that the guns could be used in crime. So, at that point, if you're not going to allow U.S.-made guns to come back home after 60-plus years overseas, you're really anti-gun. I think that Barack Obama would do whatever he could through regulation, through the power of the executive order, anything that he could not get done through Congress. We've already seen him do this with new regulations for federally licensed firearms retailers in border states now required to report multiple sales of long guns to the ATF, despite any legislation requiring them to do so.
Cam, I have a quick question for you and also for the table as well. For those of you that were really concerned with the president's response on this issue, I mean, what worries you more? That handguns will just come next? Like this is just like one step to like just ban guns altogether? Or is it that specifically you're very concerned that assault weapons could be banned?
No, gun owners, legal gun owners and folks invested in gun legislation and protecting gun rights are very familiar with this kind of language. It is a slippery slope. It's why our eyes perk up and our ears perk up over the micro-stamping talk. I mean, we all want an end to violence. That's a red herring and a total straw man. But we are very used to this slippery slope of legislation, whether it's increasing, putting a tax on your ammunition and raising the cost of ammo, or it's increased burden to register, giving up more of your freedoms and rights to lawfully own a gun. I mean, we're very used to this creep into our rights that we're a little defensive, and I think rightfully so.
Romney